What's up, guys? Dr. Seth back to help you solve your powerlifter problems. First thing I'm going to say is, as far as my problems go, I do not know why the fuck I am so purple on this damn screen record setup. I swear I do not look like this in real life. I think it's just camera settings because I've screwed with lighting a bunch, and that doesn't really change anything. And I don't know what to change to the camera to make me less this shade. If I screw with white balance, it doesn't do much, so I will have to look deeper. All that aside, Mian looks yellow when she's on here, so I gotta get that figured out before we actually record a podcast with video, because we'll be looking like two Teletubbies, which some of y'all might want to see, but I don't want to be seen looking like that. So, all that aside, accessory work. The biggest thing that lifters miss on accessories, well, actually I'll start with the second biggest. It'll lead into the biggest. The second biggest thing lifters miss on accessories is not understanding why they are doing them. Because accessories can have different purposes, and what we are trying to get out of the accessory will dictate how we should perform it to get what we are trying to get out of it, or to get the adaptation that we want to get, or to create the stimulus that will generate that adaptation. Different stimuluses will create different adaptations. So if we are trying to get something specific out of an accessory, we need to tailor the stimulus to get that adaptation. You follow me? I'll get into that a little bit later, because the first thing lifters screw up on, the biggest thing lifters screw up on, is they don't try hard enough on their accessory to actually get that stimulus. So many lifters just kind of mail in their accessories. They're not training hard enough to get the desired stimulus. They're not putting enough weight on the bar. They're not going far enough into the range of motion. They're not getting enough time under tension. They just aren't doing enough, and they're just going through the motions. If you are doing movement without taking it far enough to get a stimulus, that movement is a waste of time. If you are not performing your accessories with enough intensity relative to the stimulus you are trying to achieve, you will not be getting anything out of them, and they're just going to be taking away from your recovery demand, and you would be better off just sitting on the couch, drinking water, taking a nap, eating food, because that would be better for your total than half-assing something if you aren't going to full-ass it. You know what I'm saying? Because if we aren't pushing, there's no point in doing it. If we aren't going to get something out of it, there's no point in doing it. It's not just like you can not try and magically see progress. And I think that's why there are a lot of lifters that do nothing on accessories, even if they aren't on a program that's heavily barbell driven. Like, there are the lifters who train SBD 2, 3, 4 times a week, and they don't have to do a ton of accessories and they get better. That's because they're doing enough barbell volume to make up for lack of accessories. There are lifters that do well doing minimal barbell volume and fuck all for accessories because they're recovering. The lifters that don't do that well are the ones that do barbell volume, do a bunch of accessories all half-assed, and then they wonder why they're not improving because they're draining their recovery tank with accessories that aren't doing anything for them. So that's the number one thing lifters screw up on with accessory work, is they're just not trying, I don't want to say hard enough, they're not trying right enough to get what they need to get out of them. Now, as far as the purpose of accessory work, everyone wants to think that the big number one reason, or the only reason to do accessories, is that we're trying to get stronger or we're trying to get more jacked. I guess those are two reasons. Strength, hypertrophy. Excuse me. Now, that does take up a lot of the reasons why we would be doing an accessory, because for a lot of people, we do need to bring up a weak point. We do need to slap tissue on somewhere to either help us express strength better or give us more potential to express strength. But that is not the only reason why we might train an accessory. We might be doing an accessory to gain flexibility. We might do an accessory to bring up tissue tolerance. We might be doing an accessory to influence sensitivity to motion or to load if we are in a rehab phase. And if we understand why we're doing it, whether we are doing an accessory for strength, whether we're doing an accessory for flexibility, whether we're doing an accessory for tissue tolerance, whether we're doing an accessory for sensitivity, that is going to change how we try in order to get that stimulus. We should still be trying as hard within the lane that we need to go down to get that stimulus, but it changes how we try. Because if I'm trying hard for flexibility, that's going to look a fair bit different than if I am trying hard for strength. If I'm trying hard for tissue tolerance, that will look a lot different than trying hard for strength, but it might look pretty similar to trying hard for flexibility. Either way, if we know what we are doing the accessory for, we will better be able to try, we'll better be able to direct our efforts. That isn't to say that if I'm doing accessory for flexibility, I'm going to be trying less hard than I will for strength. I will just be trying differently. And that is the big thing people miss is, especially when I am programming something with a flexibility intent, someone might say like, hey, why are we doing all this junk volume? It's a lower RPE. We're doing a ton of reps. I don't feel like I'm getting anything. The point of that isn't to push ourselves to the point where we get sloppy, where we start to lose range towards the end of the set, where we are no longer getting flexibility stimulus. The point of that rep protocol is to go deep into tissue length with a large time under tension so we can actually get more flexible from that exercise. On the flip side, if I'm doing something for trying to get a body part stronger, I'm going to be lower in the rep range. I'm going to be higher RPE, and my base instruction will be don't cheat too much. Because if we're doing accessory, like a JM press, where it is a compound lift, where we want other stuff working, where we want to teach stuff to work together so that we can translate back to a bench, I'm okay if there's a little bit of quote unquote cheating, because on a max effort bench, yes, we do want to express strength in perfect form, perfect technique, but there will be some slop. So if we are doing JMs and we try to keep form tight, but maybe we get to the point where it's a tiny bit greasy, tiny bit weird, that will help prepare us to get a tiny bit greasy, a tiny bit weird when it comes time to actually grind out a bench. On the flip side though, if we're trying to do it for, tissue tolerance, if we're trying to do it for sensitivity, we don't want to get sloppy with our jams. We want to make sure we're loading the elbows, getting our elbow flexion, squeezing our way back out of it, getting that deep elbow flexion, challenging the freaking tricep tendon, challenging everything in the radial ulnar complex. And that is when you take precision in order to do that. So how we scale the actual RPE, how far we're taking the set, will be different for tissue tolerance than it will be for purely strength or purely trying to build a tricep up. Right, guys? And if we know the intent or the reason that accessory is there, we are going to be able to do so much better. And if it's a movement where it's something like a dumbbell press, where we can be going for big ROM, and we could potentially be going for hypertrophy, and we could potentially be going for strength, unless we have a super specific reason we're doing the dumbbell press, my bias would be to do something like where we are trying to access a decent amount of ROM, squeeze out of that ROM, and not get too sloppy, but still push it hard. And that can be a good way to make sure that we're hitting multiple boxes at once. Anyways, bottom line, got a little bit rambly, but know why you're doing the accessory. Stay in that lane to get that stimulus, and then you will get the adaptation you're looking for. Know if you're doing it for flexibility. Know if you're doing it for position. Even skill can be another reason we could do accessory. We could be doing accessory like a straight arm pull down, trying to learn how to set our back for bench. If we are doing a straight arm pull down with the intent of setting our back for bench, it's going to look like this. It's not going to look like that, right? You're not just whipping the thing around if you're trying to build the skill of setting your upper back for bench press. So guys, know why you're doing the accessory. Be precise with it in the intent. Stay in that lane. Get the stimulus. Get the adaptation. Get better. And do not half-ass it. Put enough effort in to actually get the job done. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Click like, click subscribe, tell your friends this doesn't suck. Hit the links below if you want more specific help from me. Peace out. Appreciate the hell out of you if you made it this far.